cash, that's big business. Hit town, but that's big pimpin'. My potential, that's infinite. Pin game insane. Make hits like King Griffin, a 10th inning.
And you leave.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode unknown of the 10th Inning Podcast. As always, I'm Sean. He's Dan.
I didn't prepare a object, but I found this piece of string right here. It has one of these on it.
I can explain what it is. I know what it is. So we have some. It's not that. No, it is certainly not that. We have some beer signs. Light up. You pull it. I disappeared. You pull it to turn the light on, and that broke off of a Yingling sign right behind me, folks. I don't know why I'm not showing up right now, and that's where that's from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yingling, sponsor of today's video. Sorry for the break. We had a quick costume change. Sean went to try what he thought was green. It is brown. He's a little colorblind.
I am, yes.
Comment down below whether you see brown or green. We'll see what percentage of you guys is colorblind.
This was like that dress thing from years ago. What color is the dress?
Right. Yeah. Except this is brown. This
and he is wearing green.
I'm wearing like a bluish green. Yeah, like a teal. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, today we have the pitcher rankings for you.
Yeah, we're in person, by the way.
And we are in person.
Yes.
That's Julio Urias. Sky is blue. You know, today is a Tuesday.
I imagine he might have trouble seeing color sometimes.
Sean, we're going to move on. This guy, out the gate, you're making fun of the guy with one eye. Out the gate. Well, I hope he made your list, Sean, because it's not going to age well if he didn't. But today is our starting pitcher rankings, guys. This basically concludes our ranking season. Is this it?
We're doing DH, I imagine.
Oh, we will have a DH/utility one next week. But this is certainly our biggest ranking of the year. It also includes 15, so top 15 pitchers, because there's just so many to go around. I feel like I've said this every week, Sean, but hardest ranking so far.
Yeah, this one legitimately is. It took us a while to do this one. Frankly, speaking for myself, I'm not in love with my list.
Yeah. I'm not in love with my list either. 16 and 17, I die on a sword for. I'm not even sure about 15, 14. But, that's just kind of how it goes these days. Sean, I feel like it's tradition at this point. Even though we're in person, why don't you start it off?
So, as we discussed, it was brutal. I think that from 15 to 5 could have been honestly interchangeable, give or take a few players. It was also tough to judge rookies and pitchers who've been around for a while. So you got to kind of gauge that. Because it's been around for a while, you got more of a track record to go off of. The young guys, you got just a season. I mentioned that because my number 15 is Spencer Strider. Was a rookie last year. Had a very, very good year. Won Rookie of the Year, correct?
I think Harris stole it from
That's
him.
right.
Came in
yeah, what a teammate. They're stealing from each other.
Not nice.
Spencer Strider, though, I don't know, would you almost say the ace of that staff last year?
At this point,
everybody else got injured.
He's the ace coming in.
Fried, solid, Soroka.
Oh, that's true.
Injured.
They got freed. Kyle Wright won 20 games.
Yeah, but Soroka tore his Achilles and all that.
I think that Strider is probably the number one going forward, even over Fried after this year.
Yeah.
Fried's probably the one this year. By next year, Strider could be that number one guy.
Yeah. So the future's bright for him, for that way. Only age 23 last year, 24 season upcoming. But had a very solid 3.8 ERA, which Dan was on the bus before anybody else was. That wins and losses don't matter. ERA is the most important stat. So I always like to start off with that stat. And he had a solid ERA. I'd say better than solid. I had to think about that one.
Yeah, no, think about it. You got to think about it. Was it 3.8 last year? That's what he ended up with?
3.08.
I thought he was in the twos. No?
Folks, we may have an issue here.
Okay.
Was I looking at the wrong number?
Is that it there?
Oh, 2.67.
What number are you looking at?
I was looking at that.
What is that for? 3.08.
Walks per 9.
Walks per 9. Folks, good lesson to start off with number 15. Walks per 9 is the amount of walks you're giving up per 9 innings. ERA, that's the earned runs per 9 innings. Easy mistake, walks versus earned runs. 2.67 ERA on this fellow last year.
Even better. 131 and 2/3 innings. He had a bit of an arm issue as the season ended. I think it was an elbow. problem. But he pitched in the postseason, did serviceable. And his record was 11-5, which record does still matter. But really a solid pitcher all around. The Braves pump out these young pitchers they always have from the days of Glavine and Smoltz. Julio Tehran. Remember Jair Jurgens? Ex-Duck.
Jair Jurgens, yes, ex-Duck.
Did play for the Duck.
I like that.
Yeah, so the Braves, I am putting stock in the Braves just knowing what they're doing and developing talent. And I think Spencer Strider could easily be top 10 next year.
Yeah. No,
I'm sorry for that long-winded first one. It'll get better, I promise.
I agree with the top 10 for next year. He is that 16 and 17 that I'm in love with. He's number 17 for me. So I even put 16 and 17 up with the top 15 because I was going to talk about them no matter what happened. His relief appearances the first 2 months kind of inflate, not inflate, but deflate his ERA, make it better than it was. Basically, he was a 280, had a 280 ERA after his move to the rotation. How many innings can he throw is the question. He only threw like 130 last year. Hoping he gets up to 160. Has a lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks. I think he had over an 8% walk rate. As you heard, 3.8, per 9 is not great for walks. But he had a really, really crazy high strikeout rate too. So with a lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks, he's not that efficient. So the innings, he wasn't a deep game pitcher, we'll say, like some of the other guys. And there's a good mix on this list, I think, between at least my list. Guys that are really insanely effective for short periods of time, and then guys that are decent and horses. He's one of those guys that I think he's only going to get 160 innings pitched this year, and quality starts is something I look for. I think he's only going to get 15 of those, so he just missed my top 15. But moving forward, big year. I like him for next year because we'll get to a higher inning plateau. Oh, I got to go with my 15th.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
That's Zach Wheeler, folks. He was absolutely blown up in spring. I don't know if anyone saw that. He gave up 9 earned runs in less than an inning. I don't know what happened there.
It's spring.
Let's just leave it at that. He's still in the top 15. He seemed to be really bothered by the pitch clock. In his post-game interview about that, he was like, I just kept rushing and thinking like I didn't have time. Then I realized it's still 10 seconds. His tempo last year was 16.6 seconds per pitch, which is obviously slower than the now 15 seconds he has in between pitches with no one on base. That's something to look for. I mean, maybe that really does end up affecting him. He's one of the guys that is in the middle of the pack, bottom third as far as like tempo, like slow to the plate. So if that 1.6 seconds, and even it's not just 1.6, you don't want to release the ball with 2 seconds left. You get uncomfortable. With someone who's never had a clock, you want to release with 5 seconds left. You don't have to think about it. Otherwise, you're like, oh shit, 2 seconds. So maybe that affects him. Hopefully he works out the kinks this spring. I have him slated for a 3 ERA, 210 strikeouts in 195 innings with 19 quality starts in there for Zach Wheeler. So one of those horse types. Yeah. Right at 3 ERA. Get you a bunch of innings, good amount of strikeouts. I like him.
Yeah, I have him higher on my list. I'll talk about him a little bit later. But I like you bringing up about the pitch clock and how that's going to affect pitchers because there are pitchers that move slower than others that it's going to come into play. I'll talk a little bit later about another pitcher who is using that to his advantage and kind of trying to figure out ways to get in the head of batters up there.
Okay.
But my number 14, I almost said 9, but 14, Julio Urias.
Urias.
Dan has sold me on him quite a bit over the years. He debuted in 2016, folks.
Kid.
It is 2022, and he's 25 years old.
It's crazy.
Last year, 2.16 ERA, and I'm looking at the right one this time.
That's good.
That is had an ERA of 17-7. The guy wins ball games. He was 20-3 the year prior.
Yeah.
Wins and losses, like we say, take that with a grain of salt. But when you consistently have a winning record and win ball games, there's not a coincidence there. You had mentioned the inability of some pitchers to go deep. That is a concern with him. He does not always go deep, but that may be more the coaching staff and Dave Roberts doing his own thing there and limiting his innings because of that. He has had some arm issues over the years. Am I wrong in saying that, or shoulder?
Earlier in his career, he had an arm injury.
Yeah.
But for the last, I'd say 2.5 years, he's been pretty healthy.
Okay. But he's a solid pitcher, gamer. You saw him in the World Series. He when the lights are the brightest, he plays his best. And now at age 25, this is a little bit not a hot take, but just something I talked about with some other Dodger fans out there, other than Dan. It's the first he's hearing of this. But
I'm a Yankees fan now, so please
yes,
respect me.
yes,
That
that is
should be
true.
like the Padres.
You're identifying as a Yankees fan.
Thanks.
Folks. He's got the wife beater and the 27 ring shirt coming in the mail. But Julio Urias already has 49 wins in his career. He's 49-17 in his career. A big threshold to get into the Hall of Fame is wins. That will change and has changed, but still the wins are an important statistic. He's 25 years old. Let's say he pitches for another 10 years. Julio Urias could be a Hall of Famer. If he stays a starting pitcher, doesn't go to the bullpen, which you never know. We are looking at potential Hall of Fame, which is crazy to say because he doesn't get talked about like that. And he hasn't showed, like, he has great stuff, but not Hall of Fame level stuff. But he's so young, he can progress upward. And if you just get 10 wins a year, for the next 5 years, that's 50 wins right there.
Yeah.
And you're already over 100 wins, or about 100 wins.
Yeah.
And 10 wins a year is a fairly conservative.
I think he's going to blow that.
It's a fairly conservative number. So,
sure. Yeah. No, I like the take. I'll talk about him a little bit later. But as far as the Dave Roberts comments goes, just doing what he wants. Is that what they're calling Mookie Betts playing second base this year? Just doing what he wants? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
At least 20, they're saying.
Yeah. They saw our rankings and Dave said, nah, Dan's talked so much crap about him that he had to get back at him, and that's how he's doing it.
Second baseman, your Dodgers second baseman, Mookie Betts. Moving on. My 14 is Framber Valdez, a guy that I wasn't really on last year because Zeke was on him, and everyone knows if Zeke likes a player, I try to stray away because he doesn't know idea what he's talking about. Especially because he's an Astro, you think he's overhyping him. But I'll tell you, Framber had a year. He had the most quality starts in the league last year, Sean, with 29.
Wow.
He's surprisingly high walk rate though, which I was again surprised by, especially with someone who's so efficient, goes so deep in the games. I don't know how stable his run prevention will be given his high walk rate. Again, 2 years ago, 10%. Last year, 8%. That's extremely high.
Yeah.
Baseball Savant page is rather blue on him. So high walk rates, not a great Baseball Savant page, but we're talking 29 quality starts last year, 2 years of pretty elite run prevention. He could be a guy that just bucks the trend and doesn't get picked up by these advanced metrics, but I don't know. He's on the list because what he did last year is insane, and regardless, he's going to put up innings. And 3 complete games last year, second to Alcantara. A guy that's just a horse, regardless of his run prevention, is going to make my list like that. We'll see that coming up, even with a guy like Cole. I don't think his run prevention is not great anymore, but he's a horse. We'll see. I'm not sold on Valdez yet, but if he does this again next year, then I'll have to fully buy it, and maybe he'll go even higher. But a 3.20 ERA, 205 strikeouts, 23 quality starts, over 210 innings. That strikeout to walk ratio, Sean, 14.5. He doesn't strike out anyone, and he walks a shit ton of people. That is by far the lowest of anyone that even I ranked 30 people that even ranked top 30. I mean, most people are over 20%. The good people are 23 to 25% in the strikeout to walk ratio department. That is wildly low.
Yeah.
To be successful and have good run prevention, I don't know. It's crazy.
I don't know if it's just me, but the Astros seem to have players that just buck the trends.
Yeah.
Especially their pitchers.
Said about Altuve too. His page isn't great.
They find these guys that they're almost in the sense, not Moneyball, but they're kind of taking what I guess more of the Rays than anybody else are doing, and on a larger scale with more money.
Yeah.
They find these guys. Jordan Alvarez was an undervalued prospect.
Yep.
I don't think Chas McCormick was much of a prospect. Kyle Tucker, I'm not sure how he was. I think he may have been a little bit. But they've supplemented their stars quite well
right,
with these pitchers that they've signed for pretty inexpensive deals.
Yeah, they seem to have been able to get the best out of whoever they're dealing with, similar to the Dodgers with Tyler Anderson, Alex Wood, the whole thing.
And they revived Justin Verlander's career.
Yep, absolutely. Take it away, Sean.
Yeah, I will talk about him a little bit later, not too far away. But my number 13 is Shane Bieber.
Biebs.
Shane Bieber, 200 innings last year, which
Got
nowadays is what you would consider a horse. Years ago, that wasn't the case, but doesn't really get a whole lot of recognition because he's playing in Cleveland. And like we said a few weeks ago, Cleveland's a hell of a city. People should treat it better than what it is treated.
Cleveland.
Cleveland. You guys deserve it. I digress. Shane Bieber, how old do you think he is?
28.
28? He's 27.
Okay.
For some reason, I thought he was older. I feel like he'd been around for a while.
Yeah.
But he really hasn't. He debuted in 2018, and he kind of has good years and then not as good years. He's never had a bad year, but his ERA fluctuates quite a bit. It has been 2020 year was in the 1.6. That's kind of an anomaly, short season. But he's been mid twos, low threes, upper fours. It's a little all over the place, but he takes the ball every fifth day. Is really the ace of that Guardians staff, and just goes out there and shows.
That's it.
I got a little trouble figuring out where to rank him because he isn't flashy. You know, he's not going to blow you away with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball like DeGrom does.
He lost a lot of velocity the last 2 years. Velocity's been down. The strikeout rate was down too, a good amount.
But what I like is the ERA drop. You'd think that maybe it would go up. His walk rate. Okay, where's the walk rate? Not showing up here. Nonetheless, maybe you'll touch on it a little later.
I might touch on it.
But nonetheless, Shane Bieber, my number 13.
I like it.
And Cleveland is a hell of a city.
That's it. Cleveland, one last time for you guys. Now, I will say, I will touch on him, but only because you asked me to. He did not make my top 15.
Really?
Didn't make
Okay.
my top 15.
Okay.
Just outside, I believe he was 18. So he's
Okay.
not in the 16, 17, but I want to say he's 18. Is he 18? He's 19. Strikeout rates went down significantly from 33% to 25%. However, his walk rate was cut in half. Like Sean was mentioning, his walk rate got a lot better, which helped him limit base runners, which obviously helped the ERA stay low. I do think he maybe overperformed a little bit in the ERA department, but we'll see next year. Again, I think he's 19, so right in the same. Like Sean said, anyone from 20 to 10 is pretty much interchangeable. So not a bad pick there. Number 13, I kind of teased it a little bit last time. It's Garrett Cole. His BABIP was 30 points lower than his career norm with his 3.50 ERA last year. So I think it's pretty safe to say that his inflated ERA is here to stay, Sean. Jesus Christ, I'm having a tough time today. However, he's the best strikeout pitcher in the league. And he's a horse, which I think has immense value. So you're probably going to get a higher ERA out of him, but you're not going to have a lot of guys who's going to have a better strikeout to walk ratio, who's going to go deeper into games, and who's going to, get as many strikeouts, which limits base runners and overall helps the team win, than Garrett Cole, especially for fantasy. He's 13 here. Fantasy is probably 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Just because the innings eater and strikeouts. My projections for him is 3.35. So a little bit come down on it, but that's just because I 3.5 is, you got to imagine it comes down a little bit. 250 strikeouts. That's the most I'll project for anyone on this list. 20 quality starts, which is pretty good. 210 innings and a 26% strikeout to walk ratio, which is pretty elite.
And like you didn't have Shane Bieber ranked, I do not have Garrett Cole ranked.
Okay,
I have always been very much against Garrett Cole. Even when he was on the Pirates and everybody was trying to trade for him, I was like, what's so special about this guy? Goes to Houston, does very well. A little fishy. Because since leaving Houston, he hasn't been the same, and he wasn't really that good. Wasn't at that level with the Pirates. So
yeah,
Houston's doing a little something down there. I don't know. But yeah, he was a guy who just missed out on my list. I assumed he was going to be top 10 easily, and then I started looking into it, and I do like, is he better than this guy in my mind? No. Is he better than this guy? No. So, I'm just kind of, it was one of those things. He lost out. Number 12. We're moving along. Number 12 was a guy that, well, if you asked a lot of baseball fans, maybe not diehard fans, but casual fans, who Zach Gallen was, most people probably wouldn't say outside the state of Arizona. But Zach Gallen had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
He was it Brandon Webb, who we like to bring up on here.
I love Brandon Webb.
His scoreless inning
Scoreless inning streak.
innings. I can't speak.
North
to
Carolina guy.
Really? Okay.
Sorry, Cal.
No,
Went to the uncle.
I should have ranked him a little higher.
Yeah.
Broke that streak. He broke, or he was like top 5. I think the longest streak of all time, scoreless.
Yeah.
Did very, very well. And if you look at the numbers, that really last year he had a very good year last year, but that wasn't really an anomaly. The year prior had a bit of a down year, 4.3 ERA. But if you look at the other years, he was not that far off statistically. So he is a very solid pitcher, young, 26.
Mm-hmm.
The Diamondbacks hopefully will lock him up and use him as a way to help build the core, because they do have some young talent with Corbin Carroll amongst other top prospects out there. But Zach Allen is the ace of that staff. Seems to have a good what's the word? Temperament? Yeah, for the pitching. He doesn't. Yeah. Doesn't get flustered. Put it that way.
Yeah.
He's pretty even keel, which is important for pitching. So you can stay focused. Some guys can lose their mind and still be effective. Other guys not so much. But he's just a solid guy. Like Shane Bieber, he'll go out there every 5 days, take the ball. He did have, I think, a minor arm soreness, I think, earlier in the year last year. So that knocked the innings down a little bit, but he would have been over 200 had that not happened. And he's a big guy, fairly built. And I think pitching wise, those guys tend to hold up a little better than the lanky guys. Look at Chris Sale. No meat on his bones, and he's been injured the past 3 years, and he's made like 5 starts in 3 years.
Yeah.
So
I like it. Leif's a big fan of Zach Allen, which is probably one of the reasons he didn't make my list. I can't stand anyone that Leif likes. Zach Allen's been getting some hype the last couple of years. I have him ranked 23. Might be a little low for some people.
Wow.
My projections were a 3.20 ERA, 200 strikeouts, 17 quality starts, over 190 innings. I mean, as you could tell, that's not too far off from, let's say, maybe even like a Wheeler. That's not too far off from Zach Wheeler. I just trust Wheeler more. I don't know how much that ERA is going to stay as low as it did. I think he probably overperformed a little bit. Maybe he didn't. People are high on him for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think quality start wise, I think he's lacking a little bit in that department as opposed to some other people. I don't think he can go as deep as other people have been going on my list, and I want to see him do that for one more year. When you have a scoreless inning streak like that, a lot of it's skill, but some of it's luck, just because even the best pitchers in baseball give up runs. So that definitely deflates your ERA. I want to see what he does this year. If he can back it up, I should have a spot for him next year.
I'm sure he's watching this and using that as motivation. So.
Absolutely. My number 12, Sean, it's Corbin Burnes. To me,
okay,
I actually think he's pretty similar to Garrett Cole. Slightly better run prevention. I'm not buying the whole, 2020, even 2021, the whole shortened seasons kind of stuff with him, where he had not as many innings, but at an elite rate. I think when he was stretched out over a longer season, he kind of started to falter a little bit. He had a 3.97 ERA in the second half. He looked great in the first half. But looking deeper into his game logs, he didn't pitch particularly well against good teams all year. So he faced a much tougher schedule in the second half. And he didn't do that well against the teams better than 500. He did not pitch that well. And considering he's going to pitch less against the worst division in baseball, because there's less in-division games this year, I think he's been beaten up on some NL Central teams. He's going to do that less. I think he might be in for even more regression as far as over the whole season ERA-wise. So still an elite strikeout rate guy. He's going to shove. He'll probably get you 200 innings. It's not like a small inning concern anymore like he was when he was really elite. As far as like production-wise or rate stat-wise, I should say. And like I said, crazy strikeout guy too. So 3.25 ERA, still is not bad. 240 strikeouts, 10 less than Garrett Cole. 18 quality starts. Brewers like to pull people early anyway. Over 200 innings, I think he'll scratch that with a 23% strikeout to walk ratio. But again, for fantasy purposes, you'll hear later probably a lot higher, but I don't know about for WAR.
Yeah. For me, I have him higher up on my list. But all the points he made are quite valid. For sure, as far as his struggles in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll touch upon that.
You think maybe he's a little seasoned from this now? He can make it through a whole season now. So, well, we'll see. We'll see what you say.
You
See
know,
what you have to say.
yeah, we'll teaser.
Tease me.
My number 11, right? We're at 11 now.
Yeah.
Framber Valdez, the aforementioned Framber Valdez. Dan's put it very beautifully. I don't have all that much to add. As you said, the walks a little concerning.
Yeah.
Definitely is concerning.
Especially if a guy doesn't strike anybody out.
Yes, absolutely. But I will say last year, it's over 200 innings, 201 innings and third.
Yeah.
I love seeing guys go out there. As you can tell, Zach Allen and Shane Bieber, my last two picks. I put a lot of value in a guy who's healthy in there every fifth day. Last year was his first full season in the majors, or I guess second full season. I apologize.
I'll forgive you.
The concern would be the arm injuries. Typically, after the first year of 200 innings, you see guys' arms start to falter. He's pitched in the postseason the past 2 years. It's a lot of innings on the arm. That would be the concern for me. But he still is a young player, so you would assume or hope that the arm has a lot of bullets left in it. And he's on the Astros. They most likely will have quite a division lead. Maybe you'll see Dusty Baker kind of cut back on the innings of some of these pitchers. You never know. That division is usually won by the end of May, but maybe the Angels wake up, do something.
How about those Seattle Mariners this year, Sean?
I was getting to them
with
next.
MVP candidate Jared Kelenic leading the charge.
And some guy named Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, that guy's on.
Yeah. But yeah, so Framber Valdez is my number 11 starting pitcher.
I like it. My number 11, I don't even know who it is, to be honest with you. It's Christian Javier. Now, this is a guy that I've been high on for a year, probably a year now. Maybe a year and a half. I don't know. I was looking at my last year's notes, and I had Christian Javier in last year. So last offseason, I didn't even realize I was high on him last offseason. I didn't even remember that it was. Because I know all of last season, I was trying to trade. Well, not all of it, but the second half of last season, I was trying to trade for him from Leif's team. I had like Javier for Chapman, and I shot it down because it was a playoff push. I thought I needed Chapman. That was the very tail end of the season, fantasy season.
Chapman or Matt Chapman?
Matt Chapman. When he was going crazy, and then he started sucking again because he sucks. And also, anyone who's commenting on our post, where's Matt Chapman on your third base top 10? Go fuck yourself.
Don't actually. We don't dislike.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, sure. No, those people can go fuck themselves.
No, one of the posts. Matt Chapman, I think he's from Canada. He's a Blue Jays fan.
Oh, okay. Don't fuck yourself, eh? So Christian Javier. I'm a big fan of Christian Javier. One of those guys, he's like a Spencer Strider. Obviously, I think he's a little better than Spencer Strider. Where the innings are not going to be as high because he spent a lot of time in the bullpen. Mm-hmm. He kind of went back and forth. But, the per inning basis, just out the wazzy. If he can withstand the inning increase and lower his walk rate, because walk rate's high too.
Yeah.
Very similar to Strider's profile. If anything, they're as close as a pitcher can be, and they're 16 and 11. So I don't even know how I feel about that. Javier's a little bit better, I think. However, I think he could be the next perennial Cy Young candidate if he can lower that walk rate and handle an inning increase. Now, those are yet to be seen. He might not be able to do either of them. He just needs to work on his efficiency because, again, we've talked about it. All the strikeouts and all the walks mean you don't go deep into games.
Yeah.
That's higher pitch counts. You get into, at least 4 to 5 pitches per at bat. You're not lasting more than 5 innings. And he didn't. And I don't think he's going to do that a lot next year. I think he's really got to learn, teach himself going from that mindset. I'm a reliever.
Yeah.
I don't care how many pitches I'm throwing per at bat. I'm trying to buzzsaw everyone, get strikeouts. Versus I'm a starter. I got to move quickly through this so I can get deep into this game. It's a different mindset. But his fastball, even at 93, 94, is the best in the game. His slider is just devastating. It's elite. And he really just pitches off of those 2 pitches. Okay. Word on the street is he's got a changeup and a curveball, but he combined to throw them for 12%, 8 and 4. The curve being 8%, changeup being 4%. So fastball 61%, slider 28%. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. I mean, but he's transforming from a reliever to a starter.
Yeah.
We'll see if that, distribution changes a little bit. Tries to turn more into a 3-pitch pitcher. I'm not too sure on what he's leaning on more. I assume the curve, probably with tunneling, that would be better. But I'll just read the projections. It's a 2.7 ERA, which is one of the best on this list.
Yeah.
230 strikeouts, which one of the best on this list. Over 180 innings pitched. Not as good as you want to see. That's what's holding him back. And really the thing that's holding him back the most is in those 180, it's only 15 quality starts. I don't know how many wins this guy's going to get. Well, he's going to go 5 innings. I just don't know if he's going to go 6. And you need to get a quality start, you're going to go 6. I'm struggling to see him doing that.
Could he be a new age ace?
He could be
like for the sake he goes 5 innings, dominant,
lights out. And there's a spot for that in the sport. I mean, I know this is kind of a wild take, but I think Clayton is something. He usually goes 7 innings, Clayton.
Yeah.
But when you look at Clayton's stats last year, 2.28. It's the same ERA as Alcantara, or Alcantara, however you want to say it. It's just he did it in 127 innings or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can have elite, rate stats and have elite production just over less innings, and I think more and more that's what teams are pushing for. It keeps guys healthy. For Kershaw, it's not because they're keeping him healthy. He just has health issues. But for young guys, maybe that's the way to go.
That's interesting because correct me if I'm wrong. He started out on fire when he came to the rotation and kind of petered out a little bit towards the end of the year. I don't know if I'm wrong with that, but I feel like I remember that being the case.
Okay. I don't remember.
Okay.
I cannot take a side either way. I will check while you do your next thing.
Perfect. My number 10 starting pitcher is Yu Darvish.
Like it.
Tough. He was very tough as far as where I wanted to rank him. Because he has had some good years recently and he has had some not so great years.
So some good halves and some bad halves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For instance, in 2021 had a 4.22 ERA. Last year, a 3.10 ERA, and kind of came on more in the second half last year than in the first half. He did very well in the postseason. Unfortunately, it made me very upset when he shut the Mets down. But we're gonna move past that. So Darvish, as far as the impact he has on baseball, I was thinking about this. He was one of those Japanese pitchers, one of the first to do very well. We had guys like Daisuke came over. And some other Hideo Nomo years ago. But Yu Darvish has probably been the most successful out of that bunch because typically Japanese starting pitchers hadn't done all that well. He has had himself a nice career. He's been in the league for 10 years.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah. I remember when it was big news when he was being posted his bond.
He had a whole career in Japan.
Yeah, he debuted at age 25. Has done very, very well for himself. And when he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
He's unhittable. When he's off, he's walking the ballpark, and he's not getting strikeouts. It gets a little ugly. His walk to strikeout ratio last year, 1.7.
Yeah.
So he did not walk the ballpark last year.
Yeah.
So I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna make a point.
Okay,
I forgot.
And I believe that.
But I forgot what I was saying.
When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off.
Yes. I mean, I guess Harry pitchers like that. I was trying to go a little more in-depth than that, but he's a guy, but he can lose it too within an at-bat.
Yes.
You'll see him get 0-2 and then just throw 4 straight balls.
Right.
And I think the fact that some of these Japanese pitchers, like, for example, Kodai Sengo at the Mets throws a ghost fort.
Yes.
They throw pitches that aren't necessarily well known here in the U.S., so they open themselves up to injuries and issues that maybe pitching coaches don't know necessarily how to work or fix because of that. But I don't know how I got on that. But Yu Darvish is my number 10 starting pitcher.
I like it. Sean, and this is not to be offensive to you. He's my number 27.
Yes. Yeah. I like that we have the high variance.
No. I will say, though, Christian Javier ended his season on a 23-inning scoreless streak. He didn't give up a run for I think 5 or 6 games this season.
Classic.
There goes Christian Javier. I did say in my notes, though, that Darvish could have been better than he was.
Yeah.
In the second start of the year, he gave up 9 runs in 1.2 innings pitched to San Francisco. His strikeout rate dropped. You said that. But he was second in the league for quality starts last year with 28. One behind Fangraphs.
He does eat innings. Yeah.
Last 2 seasons before that, he was 13 and 11 quality starts. So a really big jump last year. I don't know if there's anything to that. But Darvish was so difficult to rank. He's kind of, like you said, hot and cold all over the place, where That's the reason I just didn't touch him, I
Yeah,
guess.
when he's unhittable, like quite literally unhittable.
My next guy is kind of the antithesis to Javier in the same vein of the Alcantara, Julio Urias. Alcantara, Urias, and this guy I'm about to say, who is Max Fried, are basically the same type of pitcher to me. Alcantara obviously goes deeper into games, but they're all the guys that don't strike out a lot of people, but they also don't walk people, and they just have low ERAs, and they munch innings, and they have quality starts.
Yeah.
Without having to have the flashy strikeout rates and crazy stuff. And that's Max Fried. Walk rate was in the top 5% of the league. I think it was like 4 point something, like low fours, like 4.2, which is crazy.
Yeah.
He does not strike anyone out, which has made me doubt his run prevention last year. I spoke about it last year. I left Fried and Alcantara off my list last year because I said they don't strike anyone out. They're not going to be able to do this again. But at this point, I have to buy in because they've done it long enough.
Yeah.
So Fried is my number 10, a 2.8 ERA, 185 strikeouts, 20 quality starts, over 200 innings with an 18% strikeout to walk ratio. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the guys who don't strike people out because I just feel like there's so much variance when you allow guys to put the ball in play. When you leave it up to someone else, shit can go wrong. You know what I mean? I'm a big man, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with the shift going away.
Yeah.
There are some guys, Tony Gonsolin's one of those guys. There's this new stat called hit percentage or hit something.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who's doing it, but it basically shows you how many hits they would have given up if players weren't shifted.
Okay.
And he would have given up 50 more hits if he didn't have the shift, which he doesn't have this year.
Yeah.
Tony Gonsolin, a guy had a 2-point-something ERA, you know what I mean? He could have a really bad regression. I'm afraid that some of these guys were aided by really stout defensive alignments.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trusting it here. We'll see what happens. It's just a thought of mine.
I like the way you think. That is something else that, ground ball pitchers are probably going to be hurt the most.
Yeah.
With the shift being, banned. Although I will say baseball has found another way to try and screw Joey Gallo. Put the left fielder in shallow right field.
Oh, man, when you can't hit the ball anywhere, it doesn't really matter.
Yes. When you can't make contact.
Right.
But yeah, ground ball pitchers like Marcus Stroman, for one, may be negatively affected.
Yeah.
He did not make my list. I'm assuming he probably didn't make yours. Maybe
No.
he did. Okay.
No.
Another one of the guys who probably just missed out. But that is a very valid point you're making right there.
Appreciate that, Sean. I feel validated right now.
Yeah, you're very valid. Very valid.
Sean, we're in single digits, are we?
We are in single digits. My number 9, I'm not sure how people are going to take this. People may get a little upset of it because he's such a popular guy that people have strong opinions. Shohei Ohtani is my number 9 starting pitcher. I had a feeling you wouldn't be bothered, but there's some people out there that Shohei Ohtani stands out there who literally would kiss the ground he walks on. Yeah. And he's a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong. Oh, I do too. I do too. Yeah. I do too. But the issue for me on Ohtani on the pitching side is health and innings pitched.
Yeah.
Last year he had his career high in innings pitched at 166. That's fine. That's perfect. He does not go deep in games, but that's expected when the guy plays every other day, every day on the field hitting. So he doesn't have the same kind of energy. The routine's different. 5 innings he might not have as much energy for 5 innings, anything beyond 5 innings like other pitchers do. Had a great ERA, 2.3 last year. Walk rate's good. I mean, there really is no holes in his pitching side of the game or really hitting the side of the game. I'm just concerned about the health. That is what's been the issue so far. But his last 2 years, he's really picked it up quite a bit, innings pitched wise. And he's building confidence. I don't know if anybody's seen him in Team Japan, the World Baseball Classic. He seems to be very comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah.
He's a jokester. He's good in the clubhouse. So that lends me to believe he's going to continue to grow and improve his game. And he's only 27. So he's got plenty of time. And I think he kind of got past the bumps that happened the first couple of years injury-wise, maybe the adjustment to the U.S., a whole new country. But yeah, Ohtani for me, number 9. And he gets closer to 200 innings and has this anywhere close to the production he had last year from the pitching mound. And I think he'll easily be top 5.
Yeah, low Otani. I'm a little bit higher. But like you said, I think even Otani the person, got to see at the All-Star game, I think last year even, right? When he was in the home run derby. Otani the person is even better than Otani the player, which is saying something. He's just phenomenal. Huge Otani fan. And people asked me last year, 2 years ago, I've always said the same thing. Otani the hitter or Otani the pitcher, even his MVP season where he was much more of a hitter. I'm taking Otani the pitcher. I honestly think he's a better pitcher than hitter. I think he's a pitch first guy, especially in that Angels rotation where they need it.
Yeah.
That's just my take, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. Now, I got single digits here, Sean.
Yes, sir.
It's Julio. Number 9, just above Fried, similar ball player. He wins. That's honestly that could be it. And I don't talk about wins.
No.
But I can remember a distinct memory here, Sean. Me, Leif, Rob, their girlfriends were sitting on the couch, we're watching Julio pitch because I wanted to go to the game to watch him, but tickets fell through. We ended up just watching it on TV, and because he was pitching in New York against the Mets, and he gave up like a hit or something, and it looked like he wanted to kill himself. Like, he just cares so much. Mm-hmm. If this was a list of who you want on the mound, Game 7 of the World Series, I throw everything out the window about who's the best pitcher on this list. There's plenty of better pitchers with better stuff. I'm putting Julio on that mound.
Yeah.
There's just no one I trust more in a big game. Doesn't have good stuff, but he just gets it done. He's a ball player. He is the ball player of the pitchers. He reminds me of Sandy and Fried, which makes me like Sandy a little bit more. I think until I realized that Julio and Sandy are actually pretty similar pitchers, I didn't like Sandy that much, but especially the whole Zeke thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I've come around on Sandy since then. Julio, 2.85 ERA, 190 strikeouts, 21 quality starts, over 195 innings pitched with a 19% strikeout to walk ratio. Again, almost exactly the same stuff as Fried, just slightly better.
Yeah. He is a ball player.
Ball player.
Good hitter too. He was.
Oh man,
it was a shame to see that taking.
Swings the bat.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
No, please tell me.
Is he participating with Team Mexico?
He is. He shoves too.
He's shoving. Yeah. Anyway, number 8, a guy I don't know if you have ranked or not. You're not a fan of him at all.
Okay.
Max Scherzer. I think I had him top 5 last year. I don't remember exactly. This is where track record comes into play for me. And he had statistically one of the better years of his career last year. I will say when it mattered the most, him and Jacob DeGrom, the Mets, both faltered.
What did I say about
Braves,
this guy?
And then the postseason, Scherzer, as Dan called it, completely fell apart. Got booed off the mound at Citi Field. But that is all in the postseason. That's in the past. But if you look at his season last year, he was injured. He only had 145 innings. Yeah. But he did well. 2.29 ERA, which was the lowest of his career.
And it's just 0.01 more than Kershaw last year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And less innings than Kershaw.
Yeah.
I will admit that. But he's a gamer. He is a gamer. And
he is a gamer. Except in the playoffs.
There's really not much to say. Everyone knows Max Scherzer, so it's pretty much status quo.
I appreciate it. Yeah, he's a perennial Cy Young Award winner for most of his career. I'm actually going to talk about him later.
Okay, all right.
Something you didn't think to happen.
Okay.
Last year, I think I had him in this area.
Yeah.
The world blew up.
Yes. Me and Zeke lost our minds.
But I think he was the closest. I was the closest on him, and of all my pitchers, I was ranked.
Yeah.
So that says something. I think I got a good pulse on Max. And I'm glad you knocked him down a little bit in your rankings there.
Yeah.
My number 8, it's going to be Alcantara. Comment down below how you pronounce it.
I heard Alcantara, but I don't know.
Alcantara? Okay.
That's what I've heard. That's what the Mets announcers say.
But, don't you think there'd be TRA then?
I would, but, you don't always say the names the way they're spelled.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. That's just what I've heard. I could be wrong.
No, I hear you. Again, I'm going to say for the 50th time, kind of like Urias and Fried, he's just 1, 2, 3 in that same vein. Doesn't strike anyone out, doesn't walk anyone. He's the most extreme of that. He's an innings muncher, Sean. He munches on them. That's the big difference between him and those two. Is
Now, what's the difference between an innings muncher and an innings eater?
so an innings eater, they'll sit down and they'll have a full plate of their innings.
Okay.
An innings muncher, he'll eat like throughout the day and then quantitatively end up getting more innings.
Okay.
So Urias and Fried, they'll go 6 or 7 a night. They'll eat their plate. They'll eat their full till they're full. He munches a little bit though. He'll get 8 innings, and then somehow they're still throwing 33 games each. But because he throws 8 instead of the 7, he ends up with all
So
the
he has like 8 innings, then he goes like back to 6, and then 8, and then 6. So
he munches, Sean.
he has some variation.
Yeah, he munches a little bit. So yeah, his Sierra was almost 3.5. His skill interactive ERA.
What does that mean?
So it basically takes out fielding. So it's like fielding independent pitching, but it also takes into account strikeout rates and how good your pitches are.
Okay.
Well over a run different than his ERA. So run prevention regression is coming, in my opinion. His ERA was 2.28. Sierra was 3.50. His expected ERA was, over 3. I do think that run prevention regression is coming. Especially with his inability to strike people out. I've said this again and again. The shift going away. I think this is probably his outlier year, which there's nothing wrong with it. You just won Cy Young. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay to have your outlier year and your Cy Young year. But he's a stud. 3.15 ERA, 195 strikeouts, 21 quality starts, over 220 innings pitched with a 17% strikeout to walk ratio. Sandy, Alcantara, some Moana.
Okay. I will we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Okay.
A little bit later.
Go ahead. Do it. Whatever the hell you want to do. By the way, his expected ERA was 2.92, not over 3. Sierra was 3.5. I don't,
no,
as a fan, I don't mind them.
What are we at here?
We're 8.
We're 8. I thought we're I'm
we're at 7.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sure. No, it's all good.
I don't lie to the fans, but I'll lie straight to your face. I'll tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Number 7 is a guy you mentioned. I would guess I'm a little higher on him than you, Zach Wheeler.
Okay.
I've always liked Zach Wheeler from his time on the Mets, and he is a guy that eats innings.
Yes,
he's not much, but he's an eater, which is crazy because he was injured. He missed 2 years, 2 full seasons. But ever since coming back in his 2017 season, he has logged just shy of 200 innings, if not reaching 200 multiple times. Last year had minor injuries, which knocked his innings down to 153. But his ERA has been under 3 the past 3 years. He's won ball games for the Phillies. Did fairly well in the postseason. Him and Aaron Nola have a nice 1-2 punch in that rotation. He is a guy that doesn't get blown up. He's able to adjust. Let's say he has a rough inning. It doesn't escalate into the whole start being bad. He'll regroup himself. He has a lot of composure, and he'll get the outs necessary to at least give his team a chance and save some of the bullpen arms a bit, which is kind of a lost start in today's game. I think pitchers now kind of don't have that staying power. When something goes wrong, they kind of just unravel. So they like to see maybe a throwback type player in there. But anyway, Zach Wheeler is, I think, an underrated pitcher, and that's why he's my number 7 starting pitcher.
I like that. Big fan of Zach Wheeler.
Hey.
My number 7, Sean, is the aforementioned Maxwell Scherzer. It's not too far off from where you had him. Oh, you had him 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so right there. He hasn't thrown 180 innings since 2018.
Yeah.
So people talk about Kershaw for the longest falling off. This guy hasn't thrown 180 innings since 2018. So no, I don't hear nothing about him. I know you're not saying it. I'm just, I get angry because people say bad things about Clayton, and then the same people from his gen are doing the same shit, and they're just, showing you so good for so long. A slight decrease, people just go buck shit.
Yeah.
When you have a 1.78 ERA, Sean, for multiple years, over 230 innings pitched, when you go down to 2.2 over 140, people go crazy and act like you're the worst pitcher in baseball and you're washed. Talk about that later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
He basically a 2.90 expected ERA, and Sierra. They're both the same. which was slightly higher than his ERA was 2.29, right? But to have an expected ERA and Sierra under 3 is very, very rare and extremely good. So I like to add him. But because they were the same, I'm projecting his ERA to be 2.9 as well, which there's nothing wrong with that. He's number 7 on the top 15 pitchers in baseball. So
a lot of pitchers.
Also, it was 290 expected ERA in Sierra the past 2 seasons. So both times. So it seems like he's just a 290 guy, according to them. I think he finally gets to the 290 this year. Finally actually does it. Assuming he gets that full workload, I think that's where he's going to be. Assuming. And I'm going to assume he's going to get the full workload. I said 180 innings for him, which I think at this point ensures his career is a full workload. 2.9 ERA, 225 strikeouts, 18 quality starts, 180 innings, 26% strikeout rate. It's like 10% higher than the last 3 guys. The guy doesn't walk people. He strikes out everyone and their mothers. Goes deep into games. I wouldn't trust him for the playoffs or any big games, but regular season, he is a stud.
Yes, yeah. Future Hall of Famer, all that good stuff.
Jazz,
Yeah.
All Jazz.
Hopefully we'll be striking out Jazz a lot this year.
You like my necklace?
I do like your necklace. It looks fantastic. You can keep it if you want.
Thanks.
Yeah. We're up to number 6 now. Correct? 6. Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
May not be a Brewer for that much longer. They had quite a contentious arbitration negotiation. It's tough. The brain's trying to.
No, I hear you.
It's not
an easy thing.
Corbin Burns. How old do you think Corbin Burns is?
Same as Bieber. I think he's 28.
Oh, you're on time. He's 27. Again, I thought Corbin Burns was one of those guys that struggled initially and found themselves a little later in their career. He's only 27 and he's only had 4 full seasons in the major league. Actually, really only 2 full seasons in the major leagues. And both those full seasons have been fantastic. Last year, second half was rough. He did not do as well in the second half. And then obviously that didn't help because the Brewers needed that push to get into the postseason and they missed out. But
did you hear he was single-handedly the reason they didn't make it to the postseason?
Yeah,
that's what they said.
Yeah.
Single-handedly.
Yeah, don't be surprised if the Brewers have a rough year if he gets traded at the deadline. But I digress. His expected ERA was just slightly above what it was. It was expected to be 3.05 and it was 2.94. I was just looking at 2021. His expected ERA was 2, and his actual ERA was 2.43. So that is pretty wild.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often. No. I was just taken aback by that in a good way. Doesn't walk a whole lot of guys. He's a solid pitcher, and he doesn't get talked about quite as much, but he has struggled against better opponents. And it'll be interesting to see how he does. The division isn't as important as it was because you play everybody more. Yeah. But that division still isn't strong, so he'll benefit from those games.
Yeah.
But Corbin Burns is a gamer, and I hope the Brewers do well this year. I always root for the Brewers. I don't know why.
I like the Brewers.
But they got some good players.
Yeah. Sean, my number 6, the guy you talked about, it's Ohtani. As you can see by my notes here, I don't have many. Ohtani is insane. End of story. I think I think like if he got a full workload, he could be the best pitcher in baseball. The guy's just fucking insane. I'm projecting a 2.85 ERA, 225 strikeouts, 18 quality starts, over 175 innings pitched. 165 last year. I mean, he didn't really miss many starts. They're probably going to have a 6-man. So, I mean, he's going to get one less start than most people. He plays every fucking day, even when he's pitching. So what do you want him to do? He walks not a crazy amount. He strikes out every single person in the batter's box, 25% strikeout rate. I could go on and give you stats about Ohtani, but just take it from me. Everything he's done is real. He's going to have a sub-3 ERA, and he is absolutely pitch for pitch one of the top 5 best pitchers in baseball, even though he's been number 6. He's insane.
End of story. Yeah, he really is. And everybody loves him. He's a universally loved player, which you rarely see.
Right.
Which is great. Number 5. This was looking a whole lot better like 3 or 4 days ago before he's out for the whole year.
Who?
Carlos Rodon.
No, probably just April. Okay. Max. I think it's max just April. He's shut down for 7 to 10 days, and he might even make a late April start.
I think for some reason I remembered it 7 to 10 months. So I'm incorrect in that, but that is going to hurt the ranking, the innings pitched and all that good stuff. However, let's look at what he did the past couple of years, and that has warranted a top 5 ranking. Has done quite well after really struggling in his career for the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
this, by the way,
6 seasons.
I'm silent. Sorry, I'm sorry. You get a whiff of some, Yeah,
no.
A little bit there.
So he struggled for 6 years in the majors before having a breakout year in 2021. Maybe figured it out. Sometimes I like players like that, struggle in the beginning and then figure it out because they are able to look at what they're doing and correct it, which bodes well for them because they know how to fix what's wrong, as opposed to a player that is naturally talented and has not had to experience any kind of adversity in their performance.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So Rodon is just got a nice contract for the Yankees. That scares me a little bit because Yankee Stadium is not really a pitcher-friendly park. And he'll be pitching in the AL East, which is a difficult division. However, he pitched for the Giants last year and had a good year, and that NL West is quite a juggernaut itself. So really, we're going to see what happens. I will say he does not give up a lot of home runs. Less than a home run a game. Which you like to see.
You do.
He does walk a fair amount, but it's come down quite a bit in his career. He is one of those guys that just gets better with age. He's almost like a Max Scherzer type, but he got a little bit later in his career than Scherzer was.
Yeah. Well, Sean, we did it. Rodon, number 5. And as you can see, he's the only person on my list I don't have any notes for. You know why? I knew that you were going to have another 5 too.
Yeah.
I knew it. I just had a feeling. It's not that I forgot. I'm telling you right now, it's not that I forgot. Rodon is buck wild. I traded for him this offseason.
That's right, yeah.
He was one of the 2 pitchers that I isolated and said, I need these guys on my team. Fresh 30. The thing that scares me most about that Yankees contract, honestly, is that the Yankees thought he was a good pitcher. And usually Yankees decision-making is god-awful.
Yeah.
I can say that now as a fan, Sean.
27 rings.
27. Last 2 years, ERAs at 2.37 and 2.88. The expected were 2.68 and 2.64. So, I mean, the man's just insane. Strikeout rates having 34 and 33%. That's like almost DeGrom type level shit with strikeout rates. He, like Javier, him and Javier actually project pretty similarly because they're 2-pitch pitchers, fastball, slider. 61% fastball, 31% slider. If you remember, Javier was 16-28 or something like that. So with a curve and a change, maxing out at 8% for Rodon. So similar stuff there, which I like. Again, I don't have any notes that I had pre-written, but a 2.7 ERA, which is basically right at his expected stuff, and a Sierra. 235 strikeouts, 17 quality starts. That's the one knock. He hasn't gone as deep, and he's been a little injury prone. Again, a lot of strikeouts leads to a lot of pitches, which leads to not as great efficiency. Also, the walk rate has been around 7. It was even higher earlier in his career, over 10. So he walks a decent amount of people too. One of those guys that I would like to see move through hitters less, kind of give up some strikeouts, get some more contact to get through more innings. So that quality start number is the only thing really holding him back from being top 3 for me. Over 175 innings, if I didn't say it, with a 26% strikeout to walk ratio. Rodon is pretty elite for the innings you're going to get.
Pretty good for not having notes on him.
Thank you. Sean, I do my thing. I like to write a lot of notes so I don't have to think.
Yeah.
But, sometimes when I'm on the fly, I'm still all right.
You're more than all right. You're fantastic.
Sean, stop.
You're fantastic. My number 4 guy is pretty fantastic.
Okay.
Jacob deGrom, number 4. Now, you guys are going to say I have him ranked so low because I'm a hater. I'm a Mets fan. No, that is not the case at all. Injuries are the case for him being ranked so low.
When's the last time you had a season, Jones? Like a real season?
A full season? It has been since 2019. Because 2020 was a shortened year.
Yep.
2021 had 92 innings. And then last year, it's 64 and a third. So it has been 4 years since he has had a full season. But when he has played, he has been phenomenal. no disputing that. He has been everything you could ask for and far more. So because of that, I'm going to assume that he stays healthy. As Dan always says, it's hard to project injuries. But he's going to miss a couple starts at least. He's already had some arm issues early in spring. But Texas indoor ballpark. Now, I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Sure.
I haven't seen much about the ballpark. Is it a hitter-friendly park or is it more of a pitcher-friendly park?
I think it skews pitcher.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I didn't know for a fact.
I think the outdoor skewed hitter.
Yeah, because it's hot, the ball travels more.
I think the indoor, they kind of keep it climate controlled. It's not too small of a park. I don't think it's too huge. I think it's pretty even keeled over there.
Yeah, I figured you had some good knowledge on it, just that you were there.
I did a report on the new stadium at some point.
That's right.
More about the financial aspects of it, but I think it's a pretty.
So it sounds like I asked the right guy.
The guy.
DeGrom, if he's healthy and gets anywhere close to 150 innings, he's gonna win the American League Cy Young.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really going out on a limb. And I'm happy the Mets didn't give him a large contract.
I like to hear that. Well, my number 4, actually, the Mets did give a large contract to. That's Justin Verlander, AL Cy Young Award winner from last year.
Yeah.
I still disagree he was ever good before Houston. He had one good year. He won MVP. He sucked every other year. Go look at his fucking career numbers. He's god-awful. He's like a 4 ERA every other year but Houston and 1 year in Detroit.
Can I interject?
Sure.
ERAs were higher than more runs were scored. I will say that.
But during those same years, Clayton was at sub-2.
Yes.
So
that shows you how much better Clayton Kershaw is.
The whole conversation was Kershaw Verlander. It's like, what are you talking about now? With Mr.
I'd go as far as to say David Price was better than Justin Verlander was.
I like
when
that.
He was on the Rays.
I agree.
At the same time that Verlander was on the Tigers.
He's certainly good now, though.
Yes.
He also certainly overperformed last year, but you can't not overperform with a 1.75 ERA. Yeah. It's impossible not to. His expected was 2.66, which I'll point out was almost the same as Rodon's and also phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Next year, I'm projecting for fairly similar season, just with some ERA regression by a whole run. But it's crazy you can win Cy Young or ERA regresses by a whole run and you're still top 4. Mm-hmm. 2.75 ERA. 200 strikeouts, 22 quality starts. This is a guy that racks up quality starts. One of the most that I have projected for. He goes deep into games. He's very efficient. He knows what he's doing out there. 185 strikeouts with a 22%. 185 innings. I'm sorry, 200 strikeouts, 185 innings, with a 22% strikeout to walk ratio. Justin Verlander for the New York Metropolitans. 2 top 10 pitchers I gave you.
Yeah, that's
congratulations.
We had last year too, so that got us. I will say his brother's kind of annoying, Ben Verlander.
Oh man, yeah.
Anyway, my number 3, I think may surprise people. I don't think you have him ranked. Aaron Nola.
Okay.
I love Aaron Nola. I like the way he plays. I also see the expected ERA, and it was 2.74 last year, and his actual ERA was 3.25.
Yeah.
The year prior, his expected was 3.5, and his ERA was 4.63.
Yeah.
I'm going to chalk that up to maybe Citizens Bank Park being more of a hitter-friendly park. Also, the Phillies' defense is atrocious.
Didn't get anybody with Trey Turner.
So I may be crazy for doing this because of that defense. However, Nola has the stuff. He's got the it factor. Would have won Cy Young in 2018 had Jacob deGrom not been absolutely unconscious in his season. And he showed me a lot in the postseason.
Yeah.
He really did, and I think that's what's sticking with me.
Stud.
Quite a bit. And Aaron Nola, number 3 is probably very high for him, I admit. But I think that going out on a limb, I'm comfortable doing that with him, at least.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's cool. Also, I was going to ask you, I was like, who do you have higher, Wheeler or Nola? When you said, 1-2 punch, and I was like, let's see what happens. I don't want to push it, but interesting. I like that. I like Nola at 3. My number 3, Sean, out on a limb for this guy a little bit, and I have no issue doing it. It's Clayton Kershaw. My first note here is, I don't remember writing this, Sean, but it is, I would let him rail me. So, Jesus, what else did I write? Especially with the ripped T-shirt. I've just been looking at some photos. If you take out the 2 starts, he was at Colorado. He had 2 starts at Colorado, which notoriously not a great place to pitch. His ERA would be 1.78. I know you have to take those starts out, but he got blown up twice in Colorado.
Yeah.
Without as many in-division games this year, we talked about that negatively affecting Burns. Right, Burns? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it could positively affect Kershaw. I mean, no Padres, no in-course. Doesn't matter who's playing for Coors, playing for the Rockies. You can hit anyone when you're there.
No worry, you'd get Chris Bryant every time.
The Diamondbacks are sneaky. They're putting together a little team. So more out-of-division games, I think, would be better for him. You won't have to worry about pitching Coors as much. He had the 3rd lowest expected ERA. Other than Strider and Javier, he had the 3rd lowest expected ERA of 40 pitchers I looked at while making this list. I don't know what to say. Last year I ranked him 5. It was crazy. He wasn't coming off the greatest season, but still an extremely good season. And it seemed high for most people. Obviously, I don't think he made your list. I don't think he's 2 or 1, which is fair. Well, I don't think it's fair, but like that's the general consensus.
Yeah.
And then you look at his stats and like, I know he's not throwing 230 innings anymore, but he threw 130 or so last year. Let's say he gets to 170, which we're all saying if DeGrom gets to 150, I mean, his expected ERA is 2.51 last year. Better than Scherzer, better than Rodon, better than Verlander, his expected stuff. If he gets over 150, I'm telling you, he's going to be in the Cy Young race. Like he had a 2 or 3 year period where he had to work with different stuff. He lost velocity. He had to refigure it out. He went to drive line. He's throwing way more sliders now. He's a different pitcher than he was.
Yeah.
But he is still elite. His swing and miss rate is off the charts. He still goes deep into games. He had 3 almost no hitters last year.
He had a perfect game going for a little while.
8 innings, I think he had a perfect against the Twins, and they took him out or some shit. I mean, pitch for pitch, it's my opinion that Kershaw, and I know I'm biased, but even if you look at the metrics, pitch for pitch, he's still a top 5 pitcher in baseball. I get it. He's not going to get 200 innings. I'm not projecting that. I'm projecting 170. And if he can get to 170, which is 50 more innings, which is a jump that we're projecting for Strider, Javier, and a bunch of the younger guys. I get it's different. They're coming up instead of going down. I mean, he's only 34 years old right now. He'll be 35 in 5 days, March 19th, 1988. It's his birthday. I mean, I'm going to share screen for a second, guys. And you guys knew this was coming for Clayton. I mean, I can't really avoid it. I get this stretch here, but we're talking a 2.51. He's never walked a soul. His strikeout rate is still almost 30. The I mean, he's like top 5% in the league and everything. He's got a red savant. He's got what all the new kids like.
Yeah.
He's still elite, guys. If he gets the innings, he will be in Cy Young conversations. He was 12-3 with a 2.28. That's all I'm saying. Don't let it surprise you. If he finally gets the innings, he will be in Cy Young conversation. And I'm not going to be on the outside looking in. I'm going to be on the front line saying, I told you so. Yeah. So I have to be here. My projections are a 2.5 ERA, lowest of anyone on this list, bar my number 2 is actually a little bit lower.
Okay.
195 strikeouts, 20 quality starts, over 170 innings pitched with 23.5% strikeout to walk ratio. Clayton Kershaw, my number 3. Did I do a little convincing?
You did.
Okay.
You're charismatic.
I try and get out there.
You're charismatic. Yeah, he definitely didn't make my list, but he still is one of the premier starters in baseball. The injuries are what concern me.
100%. I get it.
So, my number 2 is Justin Verlander. I really don't have all that much to add. You covered it quite well. That's just seems to age like fine wine or cheese, whichever one you prefer.
I like cheese.
Yeah.
Big cheese guy.
Yeah,
Big cheese guy.
I know. Kid wrote a song about cheese back in the day.
Big cheese guy.
Cheddar is better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I hope he does well for the Mets this year. He wants to win 200 games in his career. Sorry, 300 games in his career. He's at 244 right now. So it's 16 away. Quick math, I know. Don't worry, I'm pretty smart. Not really.
Which one? You said he wants how many ones?
300.
You said what? 244?
Yeah.
You say 16 away?
Yep. I was hoping you were going to catch it.
Oh, okay. I did catch it, Sean. Yeah. Because you seem very confident. I don't want to bring you down.
Yeah.
It's more than 16 he's got left, just to be clear. Yeah.
It popped in my head at first. I'm just gonna run with it.
Yeah, 16 left. That's it.
Justin, you got 16 more to
That's
go.
it. Man, if you were his advisor, he'd be sitting pretty this year. He'd be like, I'm retiring after this season. I didn't know 244 for 16 is 300. Good for him. Sean, are you done on Justin Verlander?
I am, yeah.
All right, I'll go to my number 2 after that. I think that's the clip. My number 2, Sean, is Jacob deGrom.
Yeah.
His Sierra the last 2 seasons. Now, Sierra is generally higher than ERA or expected ERA even.
Mm-hmm.
I would say your average Sierra is sitting around, like even for guys on this list, like 3.3, 1.74, and 1.59 the last 2 seasons. I mean, I had him 1 last year, and the same concerns are still here. It's not like they went away. Throw out the 3.10 ERA. That's hogwash. If he's healthy, as I said last year, as we've all said, the whole MLB stratosphere, there's no one close. There's no one remotely close to him. He's the best pitcher in baseball, pitch for pitch, by such a wide margin. It's insane. My expected stats for him would be 2.3 ERA, 235 strikeouts in 150 innings, with a 38% strikeout to walk ratio.
Jeez.
Sean, he strikes out almost 42% of the batters he faces and walks like 3.
That's insane.
Highest strikeout rate by far, lowest walk rate. He just what happens when you throw over 100, have one of the best secondary pitches in baseball in his slider.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a changeup as well. It's really good, right?
Yeah.
Has a third pitch. So you're a complete pitcher where you throw hard over 100.
Mm-hmm.
You have a pitch mix. So it's not like Javier or some of the other guys who only throw 2. And then you have pinpoint accuracy that usually those guys don't have. The issue, usually something's faltering.
Yeah.
Javier and Rodon, 8% to 10% walk rate. Fried and Urias and Alcantara, pinpoint accuracy guys, 20% strikeout rate. DeGrom, 40% strikeout rate with elite control. He's with elite pitches too, and a full pitch mix, not even just 2 pitches. He's by far the best pitcher in baseball. It's just injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and I'm only projecting 150 innings. If he gets 150, he could win Cy Young.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It hurts that he's not on the Mets anymore. I will say that.
Sorry.
But yeah, good luck to you in Texas, there,
Amen.
Jacob.
Amen. Who is it, Sean?
There's one guy who I didn't name.
I actually don't know. I haven't been paying attention who you didn't name. It's not Clayton.
No, it's not Clayton. It is the defending National League Cy Young Award winner. Sandy Alcantara is my number 1 starting pitcher.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting lost in the sauce. Maybe I'm smoking a little Sandy Alcantara pack. But I'm pretty high on him. I really am.
I hear that.
Because the Mets played him a lot. And I have literally seen him get better each and every season.
Yeah.
And he actually, was able to get some run support enough that people can see the wins and actually, understand that he's good.
Mm-hmm.
I said he only had 14 wins last year, 14-9 with a 2.28 ERA. The Marlins are not great, but he went out there and just shoved 228 innings. That's a lot of innings in current day baseball.
It's a lot.
That is a lot, and he just consistent, just really consistent. I mean, the year before, 3.19 ERA, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's well above average. The year before, 3 ERA, it was a 2020 season, but still. The only time he's had an ERA above 4 was his rookie year in 2017, and that was in 8 innings.
Yeah.
He has just gotten better and better each and every year. He's 26. He's young.
Yeah.
So that means the Marlins are going to trade him soon. That's just what they do. They'll make another Dontrelle Willis type trade, but Alcantara, I think he's going to. I mean, he's going to regress, as far as the ERA goes and all that, because 2.28 is not sustainable unless you're Jacob deGrom. But I don't see a major regression coming in.
Yep.
I really don't. He'll benefit again from the not playing the National League East as much because that's a juggernaut of a division.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he did well against the NL East last year.
Yeah.
The only team he didn't do that well against, ironically enough, was the Mets. And when I say not that well, I think his ERA was 3.5 against the Mets, and that's not good. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're working with here.
Right.
So I think that he is going to just continue to be dominant, and I like to see guys do well without the strikeout rate. I really do.
Yeah.
In my mind, they're more pitchers than
Yep.
guys with velocity.
I get that.
I don't understand movement. Obviously, that takes skill as well. But I like to see that in today's current state of baseball.
Cool. Interesting. Any guesses for who my number one is?
I'm trying to think of guys you haven't named.
Well, I tried to keep it a secret, and I tried to not have a reaction for you. And I didn't say anything about this guy after we were done, because Aaron Nola actually made my
Really?
Big Aaron Nola?
Number one.
Number one.
We're getting a lot of comments about that.
Aaron Nola, like DeGrom. I think he's a DeGrom light, where he has all of those skills, but they're not elite.
Yeah.
They're just sub-elite. They're above average, but not elite like DeGrom. He rebounded as expected last year. He had like a 4.5 or something that was hogwash.
Yeah.
Everyone knew it was coming down. And his lineup to have an elite season this year. His expected ERA, like you said, 2.7. The last 2 years was pretty much the same, as was his Sierra, 2.7. Top 2% in walk rate, doesn't walk anyone, and strikes out guys at almost a 30% clip. So we're talking same skills that DeGrom has. Has a complete mix, has an elite mix, doesn't walk anyone, strikes out almost more than anyone else. And it's just the defense that holds him back.
Yeah.
We're looking at a 2.95 ERA, 240 strikeouts, 20 quality starts, 210 innings pitched with 25% strikeout to walk ratio. He's got everything. He's got Corbin's burn strikeout rate. He's got Sandy Alcantara's quality starts. He's got, some of the best people's ERA, and he's pitched, he's just the walk. He's got DeGrom's walk rate. He's got everything. It's just the defense that's held him back. I mean, there's a little bias here. Another guy I traded for this offseason. I traded for Rodon and Nola.
No, so you're trying to juice him up a little bit.
I'm trying to juice him up, maybe. I mean, those two guys were the guys that I isolated being, two top 5 pitchers. Obviously, I have them both top 5. Frankly, I think I have 4 of my pitchers. Oh, no, I don't have Ohtani in there. I've run in there instead. But, I like my guys for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're my guys, because half these guys weren't my guys. I scouted them and then I brought them in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I went after them. It's not because they were already on my team. I love Aaron Nola this year. Cy Young Award winner in the NL Cy Young Award winner.
Book it.
Aaron Nola.
I like that.
Top 3 for both of us. I thought I was going to shock the world with that. You came in there.
I stole your thunder without realizing it.
I like it, though. I do like it. Quickly, the guy that was 16, I thought you might mention him. He never was mentioned. Shane McClanahan just missed for me.
Yeah.
He was literally the best pitcher in baseball in the first half. Then he got injured from being overworked. It's kind of crazy because he pitches for the Rays. I never thought that would happen. He didn't really look the same the second half. I'm trusting the first half was real. With a grain of salt regression in there, because no one can be that elite. 3 ERA, 220 strikeouts, 15 quality starts. The Rays don't let people get quality starts. Over 190 innings with 25% strikeout to walk ratio. Clanahan is a stud. Just missed out. Him and Strider were in that little 16, 17 spot for me. What do you think of my list, Sean?
I love it. I do. We had we only had one guy, one same pick. Right?
Yeah, Rodon.
Yeah.
That's it.
I like that.
A lot of the same names.
Yeah.
Some different names, too.
Yeah.
Actually, thought there might even be even more different names. We had a lot of the same names.
Yeah.
For such a wide variance there could have been.
Yeah. This was by far the toughest position to rank.
Absolutely. To give you guys what Fangraphs thinks is going to be the top 15, let's see what they're thinking, Sean. Number 1, Jacob deGrom. So they're saying injuries be gone.
Yeah.
Number 2, Corbin Burns. Definitely align more with you than me there. Number 3, Garrett Cole. Aligns more with me than you there.
Yeah.
Number 4, Shohei Ohtani. Aligns more with me than you there. Number 5, Max Scherzer. Who's
I think
that?
that's more of you. I had him at 7. You had him at 6.
Okay. Number 6, Aaron Nola. Technically, I guess me. But no, you.
Yeah,
You
I
had
had him
a
at 3. Yeah.
I had him at 3. Number 7, Shane. Neither of us.
Yeah.
Number 8, Verlander. We had him pretty much the same. Number 9, Sandy. I guess that's me. 10, Wheeler. I think that's you.
Yeah.
11, Rodon. We're the same. Strider at 12. That's you. You had him on there. Beaver at 13. That's you. You had him on there. Framber at 14. I think that's the exact spot I have him in.
Yeah.
And Nick Lodolo sneaking there. A guy that I looked at.
Yeah.
He got better throughout the season. He should be good in year 2. I like his pitches. He looks great. He's one of the guys that in our dynasty league, people are kind of trading picks to come up and get him because he's a free agent right now. Not someone I would say is top 15.
No, definitely not.
So we'll see how Fangraphs does there. As far as fantasy goes, I think Nola's still number 1.
Yeah.
He's got everything, Sean.
He eats innings.
He does.
He's more of a safe bet than DeGrom.
He's safe. That's the 2. He's safe.
Yeah.
The 2 things I look in fantasy, it's innings pitched and strikeouts. If you want to know if a pitcher is good for fantasy, basically add their innings pitched and strikeouts together and make sure their ERA is under 3.5.
Yeah.
And you got an elite fantasy player. Garrett Cole's number 2, Corbin Burns 3, Rodon 4. Even with 170 innings, I still think he can be there because his strikeouts are just insane. And DeGrom number 5. I mean, you're not going to get the innings pitched, but he's going to rack up points in those innings. That's my top 5 for fantasy. Any qualms there?
No, not at all.
Okay, I like it.
Not at all.
We don't have to pick a card any card this week, Sean.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, maybe we'll do 2 next week.
We might do 2 next week. It's been a long episode.
Yes.
A little bit long-winded. You have anything to say to the fans at home? Anything we're forgetting here?
Like, subscribe, comment on our videos, our posts. We love the back and forth we've had in the comments. Again, if you want to call us crazy for having Aaron Nola so
call
high,
me crazy. I don't care.
Well, you can call us any name in the book. We're okay.
Yep. And guys, next week DH and utility. We'll throw because there's some guys who are positionless. I had some guys that I really wanted on a list and I didn't know where to put them.
Yeah.
So we'll see if any of those guys shine. Next week, get ready for that. That'll be exciting. And then, Sean, we're almost at the season.
Yeah, we're fast approaching.
Pretty much just 1 episode left after that before the season starts, and that's going to be our predictions for standings, award winners, stuff like that. You'll hear more about that later. But stay tuned to the 10th Inning Podcast. We will see you next week. Sean, it's off to Texas Roadhouse for us.
The rolls.
The rolls are good, baby.